Go for it.
All right. I will say this show has been an experience like none other, and I've been doing this way too long, and why the hell they still hire me is beyond me. But I remember, I've told this story a bunch of times, but I remember getting the first 5 scripts for this show. And I got cast really quickly and was sort of thrown into a world that I had no idea what was coming. And I got the first 5 scripts late at night, like around 11 o'clock. And I thought, okay, well, I'll read the first one and then I'll get to the rest over the next few days. And I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning. And I read through all 5 scripts because I could not stop reading the story. I would get to the end of one, I would get to the end of one script, and I would have to dive into the next one, and then was angry that there was only 5. And that I could not continue on until 6. So I became a huge fan of that world, of those people, that character, that story, and then, oh my God, you walk onto that set, and it's like coming home. Like you walk onto that set and it's just like, just like that set's been there forever. For decades. And just so, it's amazing. It just felt like coming home. It just felt like that world had always been there, and you were a damn fool for not seeing it before.
Men can hug.
That's how we all feel.
More donuts.
About it.
Yeah. More donuts.
Just to lighten it up a little bit, I paid $15 for a Jameson's on the rocks. How many lemons would it take to get a Jameson's at your bar, Scott? The lemon standard.
The whole tree by hotel markup.
You know, we've had several fights online about the lemon standard. God damn it, just pay your tab and you'll get a Jameson.
Yes.
So like 25 plus.
I just want to add on to what Eric was saying. I booked. I was in Australia. I'm Australian. I was in Australia on a holiday when I got the call about Lodge 49. My agent was like, they're interested in you for this show. I hadn't heard of it. Season 1 had already aired. And they sent me the pilot, and I watched it, and I'm like, who are these people? And this show is great. And I met them. I booked the show, and then got back to America, and I watched all of season 1, and I became, like Brit, I became a mega fan. And I had a really interesting sort of religious experience walking into the set for the first time, which is the production designer, Michael Shaw, and it felt, I was alone as well when I walked. I wandered into the lodge on my own, and I think it's something to do with the intention, and we talk about people like our costume designer, Carol Cutshaw, everybody, Michael Shaw, the designer. There's so much love and intention and care, and it does come from Jim Gavin and from Peter Ocko, the culture that they created, and walking through the hole, I got to walk from the Sentinel Suite into the library on my own. I don't know why they let me loose everywhere. I'm just like, and it felt deeply spiritual because everybody cared, every detail, every little thing was so lovingly done.
It was just, you just felt that place had just been weathered for decades. An amazing thing, I don't know if they're still up, Carol Cutshaw has Pinterest pages of all her inspiration for the show and where she got ideas for costumes and the like. That is just brilliant to look at.
Sam and Andrew, what was your lodginess? How do you explain the magic?
Well, Lodge was
my first show. So I actually didn't have much preference.
So that was the match.
But I knew from the first, I read the pilot before I got brought onto the show too. And just reading Jim's script, I knew immediately I have to be a part of this. So I just started writing spec cues. They hadn't even started shooting yet. And I was lucky enough, a friend of mine was an assistant on the show. And I said, will you pass this along? I was like, yeah, I can't promise anything, but sure. And so he passed along the music. I was just based on the script. I didn't hear anything for like a year. And then I was later asked, I think I was a group of people that were asked to write a theme song. And if I got the theme song, I would get the job. And it worked out. But being there, and just everyone, I never got to see the set. I didn't get to do any of the production stuff, but even in post, everyone was just so happy to be there. And I had no frame of reference, so I was like, this is great. Everybody's just really happy, and the vibe I got was like, this is not normal. Shows are not like this, where everybody, and I think it does come from Jim and Peter. Peter, I mean, they're both very warm people, and I was just amazed that they trusted me. I'd never done anything like this before, and they just had full faith in me, and they kind of do your thing, and we would talk through episodes and stuff, and it was just a really cool experience and a really fun show to be a part of.
Can I ask you real quick, how many versions of the opening soundtrack did you go through before you landed on what was the finished product?
I did 2 demos. So when Tom was part of the show before I was, the music supervisor we heard from, and he had kind of written this manifesto about the sound of the show. He used words like jasmine scented and a heady blend of acid folk and psychedelia, garage, jazz, fusion, and they gave us some. When they reached out, they said, here are some kind of musical references. We like this for this reason, and they said, we like the idea of wordless female vocals. Could be a cool thing we've experimented with. And I'm a kind of a band and songwriting background, so immediately I was like, I want to use a singer because voice, I think, is maybe the most powerful instrument. And so the first demo I did was just kind of wordless pop kind of stuff, which actually ended up being the closing credits for episode 1. But then I thought it would be cool to bring in Latin, just the ancient order of the Lynx and whatnot. And then I found I came across the poem, The New Colossus, which is Emma Lazarus. It's the poem that's at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. And there's a line that says, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. I just thought that was too perfect. And so it worked out well. And I did just a really crude Google Translate into Latin, which is terrible. And then when it came time to do the final, I was like, just in case anyone knows Latin, I better try to get this right. So my mother-in-law works at an Italian retirement center, and there are Catholic priests there. So I said, do you think you could ask these priests if any of them know Latin? So she had 5 priests working together to get me the right translation. And it was down to the wire. I had Juliana, who's the singer, Juliana Giraffe, who's amazing, in the studio, and she was texting me like, oh wait, scratch that last one. This is the new translation. Okay, I'm trying to fit the syllables into the melody.
Oh my god.
Well, it totally works because there's like a feeling in the song. I think that's like it's sort of exciting, and then it's like serious, and it kind of really fits the show. I've always thought, and now when I hear it, they released the soundtrack for the whole series or whatever, and it's totally Pavlovian for me. Like as soon as I hear it, I just kind of I can't wait. Like what's going to be this time. So great. Congratulations, it was perfect.
What's the label to put the soundtrack out? I forgot.
Lakeshore.
Lakeshore Records. You can get the digital download from them. I reached out to them many times to try to send us some swag, but we were unsuccessful.
We got lots of swag there.
We have lots of swag, so sorry, Lakeshore. And Sam, especially as a native son, what was the Logi magic for you?
Well, it's kind of, this one is kind of embarrassing, but I feel like it has a Logi connection to it. My first day on set was in Atlanta, obviously. There was a rehearsal for the scooter scene. And I get there, everything is fine. I'm driving around the lot a few times, and I do my last turn to go back and park the scooter. I'm going maybe 10 miles per hour. I turned a corner and everything went slow-mo because I started sliding. And next thing you know, I just effed up this whole sidearm of my leg. And who was standing there right in front of me? Peter, Jim, and they're all just looking at me. I'm like, I stood up, dusted myself off, slowly picked up the scooter and went the other way. When I saw, and the funny thing, when I saw Randall back on the set for my first take, he's like, dude, I'm glad you got back on that scooter. Yeah, I feel like it's very logical, you know, something happens out of nowhere, you get right back on it and keep going. That was my experience. That's never happened any other set I've been on. But aside from that, you know, to top up what they're saying, you know, I felt really at home. Like, the sets we were at, it felt like Long Beach. Like, I was raised in Long Beach, in the north side, actually. Yeah, strong Beach! The north side went to Long Beach, Jordan. It's a lot different now than it was back then, but I'm glad, like, these changes are happening. I can see that within the show, you know, how they're putting forth the changes that are coming to Long Beach, which I like. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Jim.
I have a question for Alethea. When you first saw the script for Circles, which is so ambitious in its storytelling and weaving together the past and the present and introducing characters, we hadn't seen before, and you know, working them in with the existing story. Like, what were your thoughts? You know, how did it strike you? Did you know immediately, like, this is how I want to handle this?
Yeah, opening the script for Circles, I mean, everything felt so spiritual for me on this show. For a start, I never get to do these sorts of things. It's been really hard for me to find my niche, and I made a bunch of really weird short films back in Australia, and then I came here and took the work I could get. And so to be gifted this incredibly unique, soulful, imaginative episode, I felt like, I don't know how it happened, I felt very lucky. I opened that first page, and Peter Ocko wrote that episode, and just from the first line about history, I can't remember what it was, about something about history, about repeating itself, and the circular nature of that, it felt very powerful. Like someone had poured a lot of love into those words and that script. Most of those, there's a lot of beautiful transitions in Circles that sort of do this interdimensional stuff. Peter Ocko had woven a lot of those in. He had very generously invited me to find other ways to weave in other interdimensional things, and that was a joy to be invited by a showrunner to play with that visual language, and I came up with a bunch, and so did Glenn Brown, the cinematographer, the director of photography. So it sent me into a trance for sure, reading that script. And I was able to think there's Werner, the character from Orbis, the guy that sort of takes the scrolls from Jackie, or she hands them over to him. Yeah, that's a good friend of mine, Patrick Bramwell. As soon as I read Werner, I was like, oh, we need a really good actor in this role. And I texted Patrick, and he was like, heck yeah. And I was like, oh my God, thank you for doing this for me. Like, and he's like, I'm not doing it for you. It's actually a fantastic role. And Patrick, you can see Patrick in No Activity. He's the creator of No Activity on CBS All Access. I don't know if anyone's seen that. Seen him in that. He's the lead role as well. But yeah,